Hi, this is Johan. Back again with another Nordic UFO story for you guys. This one is called The Wonders of Iljoki. And it's a story from Finland, one of Norway's neighboring countries. And it's taken from an old magazine called Ultra magazine from the 1980s. The date of the sighting is the 19th of March 1979. And the place is Pahkakoski power station in Finland. The main witness here is Iljoki Finland. And the nature of the sighting: many luminous objects. Alright, let's start. During the past few years, relatively little has been written and talked about UFOs in Finland. However, the material has steadily increased, including some remarkable cases. The sequence of events that took place at Pahkakoski power station on the 19th March 1979 might possibly be the greatest UFO phenomenon in Finland. When one considers the length of observation, the number of objects and their brightness. Iljoki Finland, 50 years of age, an excavator driver from the village Pahkala in Ylilli, was the main witness of this event. He is very familiar with the Pahkakoski power station and its surroundings, but he doesn't, nor does anyone else, know of any other similar events around the power station. Iljoki Finland's revised account is as follows. I was in the night shift on 19th of March 1979. The shift began at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 in the morning. We were working on pumping away groundwater in a well, where I took measurements at intervals of about an hour. My place of work was situated near the Pahkakoski power station, about 300 or 400 meters southwest of it. The weather was very clear. There was no fog or mist. Around midnight I went up for a cup of coffee in a hut which was on the northern side of the river. When I was crossing the dam bridge, I noticed a reddish light, larger than the moon, in the eastern sky, which was landing behind a wood. I thought the Russians were landing one of their spacecrafts. I had my cup and went back to my place of work. We had a hut in the wood and there was a heater to keep the instruments free from ice, the temperature being 30 degrees Celsius below zero. I set out to measure the height of the water level in the marsh, 50 to 100 meters away. I was returning from the farthest point, crossing a wood ditch which flows almost at a straight angle to the river lie, when I saw a bright reddish light advancing at a brisk walking pace to the west. I wondered about the light, but I couldn't find any explanation. The time was about 1:35 a.m. The light was some 400 meters away. Then I went for a lunch break and had just reached the end of the bridge, when I noticed a bright reddish light below the power station about 400 meters away. The time was about 1:45 a.m. At this point I shouted to the engineer on duty that there were strange lights here. He joined me. This light was close to the ground at a height of less than 10 meters. The ship itself was not seen at that time, but the light made its form clear. There was a reddish light on one side and a bluish one on the other. The ship was spinning slowly for half its axis and then back again. At the same time it was advancing towards the west. Sometimes the reddish light faced us and the bluish one disappeared. The very special thing about the light was the lack of cone shape, that it had glowed for 2 or 3 meters. We had been watching for about half an hour when we noticed that there were similar lights higher up, though they were much dimmer. Then we went to Iljoki power station, 6 kilometers away, but they hadn't observed anything. When we returned to Pahkakoski dam bridge, the time being 2:55, we saw 2 ships above the wood, some 600 meters to the southwest of us. After that, judging by the lights, my companion noticed many other ships out on the march, situated a bit to the left of the 2 initial ones. We tried to count them, but they kept moving very close to the ground, so it was difficult. However, we reached a figure of 14 to 15 in all. We went by car from the bridge down to the power station, where my companion had to stay and watch the gauges while being on duty. I returned to the bridge and watched the 2 objects that were closest. I could also see the rest of them, but they were further away. The 2 nearest ships had lights, one towards the illuminated bridge, the other one towards Oulu. They seemed to be quite stationary. When I had watched them for a while, the one with lights towards the bridge moved about 200 to 300 meters to the left. It took about a second and it remained in the shelter provided by the woods. The one with lights towards Oulu landed close to the snow, causing the whole ship to become visible, its lights being reflected from the snow-covered trees next to it. The diameter was about 30 meters and it had a discus shape. The upper deck had 2 illuminated openings, whose diameters were 2 or 3 meters and mounted almost opposite to each other. The bottom of the lower deck was smooth for an area of 10 meters. I watched the ship for about half an hour while it rose and descended with heavy wobbles. A bright cone-shaped light was directed to the ground from the lower deck. Gradually, all the ships moved westwards. No gas, fumes, or noise were emitted. The light on the marsh was tremendous and we didn't dare to go any closer. I watched the object until dawn. One of them was still visible at 5:45 a.m. in the broad daylight. It had advanced quite far and it was big as a house. This was a really interesting story. And the clue, or the key of the story, in my opinion, is that it was sighted near and around a power station. This first picture is where Teuvo Kovalainen watched a UFO for a long period of time. It advanced very slowly away above the left bank of the river. Obviously he's standing on the bridge. And the next picture, both witnesses watched more than 10 UFOs from the dam bridge, moving slowly away from the power station. This is where the big, strange light appeared. You can see the march, and there were a lot of UFOs around this light. In my opinion, this light might have been some sort of a portal that was opening, letting these entities out into our reality. And for some unknown reason, it seemed that it's preferable for these objects to do this type of introduction to our world near high voltage power stations. I have a personal story, and it's not related to UFOs, but it's more related to electricity and ghosts. You know, when those mediums step into a house, when they can feel vibes. In my opinion, this is current, electric current. And these entities, from my experience, they live inside the electrical current. We all know that electricity not only travel inside the lines, the power lines, the cables, power cables of the house, but electric current can move through the air. I believe these self-aware entities, whatever they may be, has the capacity of using the electricity, taking over some part of this electricity, doing things, making noises, moving things. It has to do with electricity. You've probably seen, if you are interested in alternative stuff, you've seen electricity used with magnets, hovering things, breaking the rules of gravity, you know. I once stayed overnight in a haunted house. It was a friend of mine, a girlfriend at that time, who lived in the house, and she was scared almost to insanity. She had heard noises, felt a presence. She had experienced foul odor, noises, voices, and she had 2 cats and they were reacting to something. She was so afraid that she was thinking about moving out of the house. She called me and convinced me to stay over, and of course I came over, and when this phenomenon didn't occur, I was thinking about it wasn't anything to it. But then, just before bedtime, we were sitting in the sofa in the living room talking. We heard this slapping noise coming from the hallway. It was like this, and a little break, maybe 10-15 seconds, and it came back. And we looked at each other and thought, what's that? You know? Maybe the ghost is finally arriving, doing something. And we went out to the hallway, and at the end of the hallway, on the wall, there was this electrical cabinet where all the fuses and stuff are, you know, and the meter. So when we stood and looked at this cabinet, we heard the noise again and realized that the noise was coming from the electrical cabinet. And I went straight up to the electric cabinet, opened it up. Nothing wrong there. Every fuse was as it should be. And the noise stopped. It didn't happen again. And this event led me to believe that unnatural things, noises, ghosts, if you call it that, it has something to do with electricity, or electricity is being used as a form of transport or medium to do things with, if you will. So, anyways, hope you liked the story, the UFO story, and I'll be back soon with some more strange UFO stories. See you later.